Welcome to By George, an 80 Players podcast here at the George Theater. I am your host and marketing associate, Miranda Zapes, and today I have with me...
I am Hannah Smith. I am the production stage manager here at 80 Players at the George.
And so we're currently in our Steel Magnolias season. We are in our photo booth. Sweet. We're going to be getting into all of the things of what it means to be a stage manager, a little bit into the process for Steel Magnolias. It is an all-women cast. What is it like being a woman in theater and working with an all-female cast? But you just said something before we started about working on the schedule for next year. Is that what you said, or the...
Yeah, one of the things that I do that's not really a production stage manager thing, it's more a holdover from when I was production coordinator, and previous to that when we had a full-fledged scheduling department, is that I work on calendars for the year. So once the team has put together the season calendar for next year, then I go in, start putting in the details into our in-house calendar that we have, as well as start making all of the calendars that then our stage managers are going to start their calendars from for all of the individual shows within the season. All of that starts with me.
That's so, okay, because I love schedules. And I feel like we've talked about this kind of briefly here and there as we see each other in the office. I come from a film background.
Right.
I say they know that, and I tell everybody. So I love AD work. So first AD, I make the schedules for shooting. I like production coordinating, making sure all the food and everything is there. So that is, I live in spreadsheets. And so I wanted to know, with you making these calendars or kind of putting in all of the details, is that something that you can just turn your brain kind of off to, and it's something that you really enjoy doing?
It is something that I enjoy. That's part of why it's still part of my duties list, even though there's not really a reason for your production stage manager to be doing that. Short of, yes, they will be making calendars, but that doesn't mean they need to be the one making like the master calendars for everything. I enjoy doing it. And also it is kind of nice to have, because I've done it so many times, to, as you said, you can turn off your brain a little bit and just... I know what the weekly schedule is going to be. I can just put that in. Okay, copy and paste. We're doing that. Oh, reformat that calendar. Make it all come together well. So, yeah, it's kind of nice from both sides of things. And also then I enjoy, because I'm a nerd like this, and I feel you're nerdy in the same way, I also enjoy then finding those moments of just like, oh, we accidentally made a conflict. What are we going to do here?
Yes.
Oh, we booked, making that list to send to people, just like, hey, I don't know that you noticed, but I did. We did this thing.
I do enjoy that. And it's part of that, like, that's the side of creativity that I'm on. So, like, I always say that me and Jesse are like two sides of the same coin, because we're both creative, but creative in our different ways. Because he can come up with these ideas out of, like, thin air and the art that we see in film and commercials and everything.
Right.
Whereas I feel like I have the creative for the logistics of all the behind the scenes of making that beautiful schedule, making sure everybody knows, and then if there
making it legible, that people can follow it. It's not just information.
Yes. Putting in all of the systems to make sure that if somebody needs to find it down the line, they know exactly where they need to go and what to do. That is where I thrive.
Yeah.
And so it is something that I can turn my brain off when I start doing that work. So I just wanted to know if I had another person out there.
Yes. Okay. Greetings, fellow nerds.
Yes.
We do indeed share that. Yeah.
That's awesome. And you need both of those people.
You do.
Which is hard.
You gotta have both sides.
It was coming into, just college and coming to work here, I was like, I don't think I'm creative enough to be in the film or in the theater industry, but you do need that other aspect of it. And so I think we are kindred spirits.
Yes. Very much so.
But I want to know, let's go back to the beginning.
Okay.
I want to know what led you to become a stage manager. Did you always know that you wanted to be in theater? Did you always have that drive for schedule?
No, did not always have that drive for schedules. I'm another one of those weirdo techies that started out in acting, because that was really all that I know. Crazy, right?
Oh my goodness.
Because, whenever you're first a kid, nobody's letting you like drive the bus, as it were. So you have to start somewhere in the world of theater, and that was in acting, in like church dramas, a little bit in school. I was the biggest Billy Goat gruff in my kindergarten production of the Three Billy Goats. My mom is gonna love that I just shouted that out. And then it wasn't really until like upper middle school, high school land that I first started thinking about, oh, you know, there are people behind the scenes that do all these things. And a big catalyst for that actually was the Phantom of the Opera.
Oh, okay.
I grew up in Missouri, south of St. Louis. Whenever one of the many times that I'm sure it came through, that the tour of Phantom of the Opera came through, one of the local news stations did like a half-hour special, like on a weird one-off time of day, talking about the tour and went backstage and all of this. And I was just absolutely fascinated by the whole thing because you had all of these other people that I had never really thought about before. But of course, you need all of these other people making the show happen and making all of the amazing tech that is in that show happen. Begged my parents, could we go see it? It was one of the first professional shows that I've ever seen.
Wow.
Still one of my all-time favorite shows. I know it is schlocky nonsense, but I love it so much.
Of course.
But then that's whenever I started becoming interested in the backstage side of things as well, working high school shows and whatnot. And so even though I went to college for a theater degree and was still thinking about being a performer, I was starting to have this experience in the backstage side of things as well. And becoming interested in that. You know, by that point, I, you know, was a more organized person. And so I had a couple people ask me to be stage manager for them for like student shows. Just like, oh, I really enjoy this.
Yeah.
Oh, I actually seem to be pretty good at this. And also, you know, I'm 5 foot and change. Sure, I can play children. That's fine right now. When I was in my in my in my early 20s at that point. But it was one of those, do I still want to be playing a child when I'm in my 60s? Because is this all that I'm going to get? Because that was literally all I was playing in college was like children and youth roles, which was fun. But again, do you want to do that forever?
Yeah.
When I have this other thing that people seem to think I'm pretty good at, let's maybe start pursuing that. And then... so here I am.
No, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I think that I mean, I have a similar story of like, I was never a performer, but I liked making films and like little home videos. And then when it was getting into school and having people tell me like, oh, you're good at this and organizing this. And then it just, it was something that I fell into. And now that I wholeheartedly love doing. So, but that's awesome. Phantom of the Opera.
Phantom of the Opera.
You're gonna get mad at me because I've never seen it.
No, that's okay. Again, I know it's big schlocky nonsense fun stuff. I'm sure the tour will come back to Houston at some point, and it's popular enough. Perhaps if we are still working together, maybe we have a theater date together to go see, because I haven't seen it in a while.
That would be incredible.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so we've got you. We know how you got into stage managing. I want to know, what does a stage manager actually do at a theater for those who might not know?
Well, we are the person who's going to be with a production for the entire process. So before we're even in rehearsals, sometimes even before we've started casting the show, you're generating paperwork, calendars, but also just any sort of breakdown sheet for the production, like who's in what scene, you know, that sort of thing, what props are in the show, whatnot. Sometimes I'm involved in casting, more because I'm the PSM for the company than because I'm specifically on a certain show. But then that could be contacting actors, that could be just creating the list of who's going to be actually contacting the actors and what they need to do. There, when we're in pre-production, where we're meeting with the designers and the directing team, and everybody is hopefully getting on the same page of what a production is going to look like, what the feel of the show that we're going for, and the designers are putting together all of their work. And then obviously really hits the ground running once we hit rehearsals, because then I'm there at every rehearsal. I'm writing down all the blocking that the actors are doing. That's all the movement that they're doing on stage. I'm writing down notes about what props do we need. Oh, this costume piece needs to have a pocket because we're going to put this in it. Oh, can I double check that? I think we said in the meeting that there were going to be 3 stairs in the set piece. But now could it actually just be 2 for the block? You know, that sort of thing. We like this chair, we don't like this chair, yada, yada, getting everything put together.
Yeah.
That takes us up to then when we're in tech and we start adding in the lighting and the sound elements. Your stage manager starts putting together their call book of then calling all of those cues that they're going to happen when they're supposed to, while still, making sure actors have what they need. We're getting costume pieces. Everybody's has the time that they need to get things together. And then we finally get to performances where then the director leaves. So then not only is the stage manager calling the show, running it every night, making sure people are where they need to be and that things are happening and making note of what didn't happen right, but is also then serving as the artistic eyes of the director of making sure that the production is staying true to that director's vision as well.
Fascinating.
So it's a weird combination of a lot of administrative, but also far more artistic than I think people think about. People in theater, especially young people in theater, because I know at one point this is one of the things that got me into theater, just think that the stage manager is the person that tells you what to do and tells you, no, stop doing that, stop touching other people's props, which, to be fair, yes, we do, but is also looking at it from a holistic artistic side of trying to get the production to function together with all of the pieces.
It sounds like, and there's so many things that you've touched on that I kind of want to bring back. No, but I think it's important to know that like a stage manager kind of feels like the catch-all of, I think the best maybe metaphor is this train that's on the railroad. Like you are putting down the rails to make sure that this train keeps moving forward and that everything stays safe and that everybody is coming onto the same page. And
that we're all traveling together on the same path.
Yeah. It feels like, because you're in so many different places, it is a kind of catch-all. You're making sure that this doesn't get left behind and this doesn't get left behind and this is meeting this person and everything. So I imagine that it can get very chaotic very quickly. The other thing is, hearing my friends talk about stage managers and maybe not the best experience with stage managers and being, they are just the person who like tells you that, oh, you can't touch this and you can't do this and you have to be here at this time and everything. And so it's good to know that that's not the case. That's not all that you do.
It's not always. No. And I spoiler alert for anybody watching this video, I have seen the list of questions in advance. But I know that it will kind of touch on a place that you want to go elsewhere also, but it's kind of how my faith as a Christian also then comes into play as a stage manager, because we were very much called to love one another, to take care of one another. The way I feel I can do that best is trying to be the best, most compassionate, kindest stage manager that I can be at the same time of just, yes, we want to make the show as good as it can possibly be, but at the same time, we also need to be good human beings to one another. And me yelling at you to stop touching the prop is not necessarily the best way to go about that.
So kind of talking about that, I'd love to jump to this topic. What has it been like for you working at a Christian theater? You say that you came from, Houston isn't where you were born and raised, and you kind of moved here. But if you want to touch on previous theater experience, or just what was it like coming here to a Christian theater? Was it what you were expecting or maybe not?
Well, professionally speaking, this is the bulk of my professional career has been with the 80 Players. I did a summer at the Kansas City Starlight, just a one-off season of summer stock, and was very different from this, both in just the timeline that everything was on. Like, we rehearsed shows in 2 weeks. They were up, they were going, they played for a week, and then they were done. Like, summer stock schedule is bonkers. But also then it meant there was no time to be kind to one another. It was very much about, we have to get the show together. It doesn't matter what it takes. We're going to get the show together. What I appreciate so much about this company, and I do feel it comes very much from the fact that we're a Christian company, we have that basis in that, is that it's what we're doing is more than about the show that we're doing. Yes, again, you want to have a good product, you want to do the best possible show that you can do, but you also want to make sure that people are taken care of, that they feel supported, that they feel like they have what they need to be the best artistic version of themselves, whether you're on the creative side, whether you're on the cast side, wherever you fall in that spectrum. And I mean, I feel like we accomplished that pretty well, especially on our good days. On our bad days, I don't know, but you know, we all have bad days, and that's just what we all work through as humans. But I know a lot of people, and I take it as a huge, huge compliment. A lot of people that have worked a variety of other places come to here, and then they go out of their way to let us know the atmosphere is different here. I felt so supported here. I felt so loved and cared for by people here. We did such good work. You're so professional, yada, yada, yada. I think all of that comes back to a place of, we're doing this for more than just a show. And again, you want it to be a good show. We want it to be a good show. But the more important part is, how can we love and support one another while we are doing this great gift that we have, that is to get to make art. We get to make art for a living, Miranda.
I know.
Like, that's crazy.
It is incredible. It's absolutely amazing.
And I have to remind myself of what a gift that is when it's like 3 days in on Tech Week and I'm so tired and things may or may not be coming together yet at that point, and all I want to do is just be like a secretary somewhere who goes home at 5 o'clock and doesn't care again till the next day at 9. But when we're outside of those days, which even I'm sure the secretaries have, those days where they wish they were doing what we were doing, but it's just such a gift that we get to have.
It is, and
it's such a blessing.
Again, like I do wake up some days and I have my mental down days. And it is nice to be able to come in and have something like this, or photo shoots, or things where I get to be hands-on, and those really take me out of those slump days. And I get stuck in this mindset of, I am one of those people who typically just works 9 to 5. I mean, I always give 110%, so I stay late sometimes when I'm not supposed to.
I know, I've seen you here.
I know. Don't tell Jesse. But it's when I get to do those things and I get to be reminded that this is what I do it for. I'm not just sitting in front of a computer all day. I get to go and talk to people about their stories and why do we do what we do, and how can we affect other people and just share this gift that I mean, it is truly a gift, but it is this up and down process, and I have to constantly remind myself, and I'm grateful that it's such a wonderful community. It's such a wonderful company that we remind each other that we get to experience this and we get to share this gift. So I want to know what it's been like. We're currently in Steel Magnolias. We've talked about being in a Christian theater. We have an all-female cast. Talking from the stage manager's perspective, what has it been like being in charge of this all-female cast?
Well, the big thing, of course, is that we're all in the dressing room together. So that's fun. That's all awesome. There together. For a show like this, I know there's a lot of cast bonding that has gone on. We have been through some things together as a cast. We replaced an actor midway through, so we had this completely new person come in. She hit the ground running. We've dealt with some weather delays. We've dealt with cast illness. We had to cancel a preview. Like, there has been some strong bonding that has gone together in this show. Would it have been just as strong if we were a mixed cast? Maybe, since it's a small size. But at the same time, we're all in it together. They all get to love on one another in those dressing rooms. Oh my goodness, they all pump each other up. They pump me up before every show, since we're all there together. They just want so much to love and support the show together. And so that's awesome.
I love, again, talking about, I mean, an all-female cast, and just coming off the topic of why we do what we do, and being in Christian theater. And it's like, we do have those bad days. And even when, I mean, because humans are humans, people are people, and we're going to run into chaos and we're going to have things fall apart. But when you're surrounded by such wonderful people and such supporting people, it's still fun regardless. And so I think that's awesome.
These gals will be in there like dancing around to the pre-show music.
Love it.
And we call places and they cheer and people go to take their spot for top of show and they start like catcalling, go do it, have a great show, break legs, you know.
I love it.
Maybe that's the womanly side of it.
Well, it's fascinating to hear that behind the scenes look at everybody pumping each other up, because as an audience member, and I just come in and I take the photos sometimes, we don't get to see that. And so we don't know what relationships are being built behind the scenes, and are these actors really as close as they are on stage, or do they have the chemistry that they have on stage? So thank you for that insight of what is going on behind the scenes.
Yes, no, they very much are just, yes, let's do this. Let's make this show happen. Not every cast that I've worked with is like that. And you know what? That's fine
okay.
Also.
Yeah.
We don't all have to be best pals. But it is a lot of fun then when you have a show where people are just really bonded, of just like, yes, we are going to do this thing.
Yeah.
We have climbed mountains to get here.
No, exactly.
And we are going to do the best show that we can give the audience.
And that's what I love as well. I mean, again, being in film, I mean, you have this trauma bond to people of going through the trenches. And so I know that it's hard with all of the chaos and all of the setbacks that we might have had with Steel Magnolias, but it does really bring everybody together once you find those creative solutions and work beyond it. So, yeah. I want to take it back real quick to stage managing, because it's a very different process, or I feel a different process in pre-production and in rehearsals and what you're doing and taking the notes and everything, versus when you're actually in production and you're coming to show each night and you're doing the calls. I want to know, do you have a preference? Is there one aspect of stage managing that you like more than the other? And if you could talk a little bit about what it is, doing the calling during production. What exactly are you calling?
Well, let me start there.
Okay.
And then we'll work our way back.
Sounds great.
You catch me with anything I miss then. So when I talk about calling the show, that means that I've got the script in front of me, and then I have written in the margins all of the light cues, the sound cues, sometimes fly rail cues when things, come in and out on the show, occasionally deck crew cues, but a lot of times they're able to just take that based on other things. If you're not a specialty show, like say Play That Goes Wrong, where we had, for safety reasons, some very specific, you do not drop this wall until I tell you it's safe to drop this wall sort of life. But I've got all of that written in the book, and then I'm on headset with the person who's operating the light board, person who's operating the soundboard, somebody who'd be at the fly rail, perhaps also somebody on the deck crew backstage, if that's separate from the person on the fly rail. And then we have just assorted headsets places if like another audio team member needs to jump on, if a deck crew member needs to jump on, that sort of thing. And so then I've got audio feed that's going out to them, just letting them know, okay, stand by, just get ready for standby, light cue 3, sound cue 8.2, fly rail in, whatever the case may be. And then light cue 3, everything that I just said that I just made up, light cue 3, go. When they hear the geo, that's when they're supposed to take the thing. So then that's a way to maintain consistency through the show of one person is in charge of making things happen. When things are happening at the same time, then you don't have like a light board and audio board operator separately going, are you gonna take it now? I'm gonna just press it wasn't together, because
I see.
Somebody is calling that in time. And then you've got, as your stage manager, you've got your person who then is also available if something goes wrong and now we need to fix it. Okay, I need to relay this information. Okay, we're gonna jump over this light cue because this thing happened, or skip that sound cue, they jumped a page, we don't need the phone ringing anymore. Not that ever happens. We never do anything like that. Especially if you didn't catch it, audience member, then we definitely don't ever do anything like that.
That's what we talked about with Deborah in the last episode. You keep going.
Nobody will know. Going, and we make it happen. So you've got somebody that's then in charge of making sure that we're all on the same page together, kind of quite literally on the script page.
That's awesome. And so so it's still, again, catching all of these pieces, and even on, it feels once we're in production, maybe on a smaller scale of making sure we're still on the same railroads and everybody's on this same page. So with those two aspects of stage managing, do you have a favorite? Is there one that you look forward to more than the other?
There are aspects that I enjoy about both. I really like the putting the pieces together part of rehearsal, of getting things together, getting it on its feet, seeing the evolution of us just reading the script around the table to putting it up, start kind of stumbling around, figuring things out, and then finally getting to the point where we can dig into like all of the deep character moments and really building the emotional heartbeat of the show before then you take it to tech and wreck all of that out of there for a couple of days because you're focused on the tech elements instead for a while. But I also enjoy the part in calling a show where like everything's hitting, like the rhythm is great, especially in a show that's got a lot of cues, or like a musical where things have to happen in time to what's going on. And those days where you can just really feel like, yes, it's just really hitting. We're just really selling the show with the way the cues are happening and the audience isn't even like aware that there's somebody controlling all that. That feels amazing when it's going well. So there, it's kind of a both sides thing. Whenever I'm in rehearsal, sometimes I start longing for, oh my gosh, I can't wait for the day when all of my paperwork is done and we're just running the show. And then there are some times when we get into the running of the show where I'm just like, oh, I can't wait till we get to like start experimenting with a new show again and playing around with it. And, you just kind of start longing for that other side of it sometimes. So I guess that's a good sign that I enjoy the whole picture.
Of course, well, because that's what I imagined is, and I've never done the job, but I feel like I would always look forward to that kind of euphoria that you have when everything is going at just as it, and the audience can't tell. That's what I love. Hearing about what the experience is like or what exactly you do, because I would have never prior known that is what's going on in the background, but you notice it when it goes wrong. You notice it when the light cue doesn't hit the sound cue, or when the ring doesn't happen, or if you've seen the show a couple of times, you're like, that line wasn't the same as this time, or those kinds of things. And it's nice when it all goes just according to plan. And so
though the crew was teasing me the other day, there is a strange euphoria is probably not at all the right word for it. A buzz maybe. Whenever things are going wrong and you're trying to fix them on the fly. But you have that moment of, I know exactly how we're going to fix this. And we're going to try to make this as seamless as possible for the audience, whether you're successful in that aspect or not. But of the okay, we're going to put on our decision-making hats and we're going to make this happen and we're going to, do this and do this, and can you meet this person here? And then you've got like 30 seconds while this person is off stage traditionally. And
I love that. I love that we started talking about these two types of like creativity, and you really get to blend them together by stage managing. But that's the aspect that I love the most, is when you're in the middle of it and you have to quickly creative problem solve. How is this person going to get here? And so I love that. I think that's...
No, it sucks, but it's so awesome at the same time.
And you do, and you say that
they were teasing me of just like, you enjoy the chaos. I'm just like, enjoy is not the right word, you guys. But a little,
I live for that chaos, because when you solve it, it feels so good. And then you have another tool in your arsenal for the next time that happens or something similar occurs. You're like, this is how we did it last time, and I know that it can work this time. And so,
or this is what we tried last time. It was bad.
Exactly.
So let's try this time.
Exactly. Yeah. I love all of that. I'm going to get into our lightning round question. Boy. So the first question I want to ask you is, what is the biggest mishap that you've had happen on stage, whether you were performing or you were stage managing? I know you have many stories.
Oh, Miranda, I have so many stories. And again, because I knew that I was going to get this question, because you ask it every podcast, and it is probably my favorite part of the podcast because I love theater disaster stories.
Yeah.
They're so much fun.
That chaos.
Yeah. I think my life is too calm, and then I come here and then I get some chaos and then I get to go home and it's calm again.
You get me.
We gotta hang out more.
Yeah.
First, I want to set the record straight. Olivia Swayze was on the podcast back at Christmas, for those who perhaps watched or have not, and now are going to need to go back and watch that one. So you're welcome for the view count. She talked about a mishap that had happened during Anne of Avonlea, where one of the child actors had an accident on stage. It's exactly the sort of phrasing that you think I mean by a child had an accident. And as part of that story, she talked about how, when backstage, when the actor was talking about, gosh, I really need to go use the bathroom right now, that the stage manager told him, be a professional, you don't have enough time, you need to go on stage. Was not true. Was not the stage manager, because one, I was the stage manager and I would never. And two, that was back when we were at our Grace Theater, and so both stage manager and ASM would run boards during that time. I was running the light board and calling sound cues. My ASM for this show was a summer intern. She was running the sound board. So we were both very occupied and completely unaware of what was about to happen to our lives. In 2 scenes from the end of the first act. So I've thought about, I don't know if it would have been like a child wrangler that maybe was trying to like pep him up. I can't picture any of the adult actors in that show giving that advice. So I'm not going to throw any of them under the bus. I honestly don't know who it would have been. I just know it was not me. But I am the one who cleaned it up, because I was not going to do that to my sweet summer intern after we sat in the booth and went, what is happening? What is what I think happening is, what I think is happening right now. Okay. Well, there's one more scene, and then and so nobody needs to go into that part of the stage, and now they definitely won't. And okay, so we'll clean it out.
Oh my gosh.
Good time. So anyway, there is that.
Yes. I'm glad you've cleared your name.
Yes. Olivia. Yeah. I almost texted her to be like, girl, what are you doing?
What are you
doing?
Throwing me under the bus. No.
But the one that I went looking for, because it popped in my brain when, again, I knew that this question was coming, because it was such a people coming together moment, was our production of Emma in 2011. This was back at the old Grace Theater. And back at that stage, it wasn't very deep, wasn't very wide. You had to be very selective about your set pieces. So for that particular show, which had a lot of indoor and outdoor locations, as is befitting a Jane Austen adaptation, we had like these moving, rolling wall pieces that were decorated like, okay, this side is like an outdoor looking tapestry. We have that on stage when we're outside. On the flip of it has like a painterly fireplace. We have that when we're inside, that sort of thing. So we had all of these extra deck crew members as part of the show so that they could, wheel them around. We had like all this choreography with them, whatnot. One of the performances, one of the deck crew members called me about 2 hours before the show. I literally went and looked up this performance report because it had been such a thing. And I wanted to get the details right. Called me up about 2 hours before the show, just absolutely distraught. She was dealing with this personal thing. She was definitely not going to make it on time for call. Wasn't even sure if she was going to make it to the show itself. Didn't know what to do. I think she was still in high school at that point, because this was a summer show, was an intern, just doing this for like extra credit over the summer. And calmed her down, we'll work out a solution. It's too tight to top a show. We're not going to cancel for this reason, but like get here when you can. Keep me posted. If you can't get here at all, tell me that as soon as possible. We will work out a solution. And what we ultimately did was we pulled my ASM, who again was, running a board. I think for that particular show, she was running the light board. And I was running the sound board and then calling light cues. We pulled her off of the board because she had been with the production all of the rehearsal process. So she was familiar with what needed to happen. Stole a costume off of one of the actors so that she would have something to wear. Because, of course, they were costume deck crew because we were part of the Jane Austen world.
I see.
Had Lauren quickly look over all the deck move sheet, And then we had Kat Hatcher was one of my actors in the show.
Oh, wow.
But she was only in the second act. But, you know, because she's a trooper, was always coming at top of day anyway.
Yeah.
Because her husband, Jason, was in that show. He was in the first act. I think they would just travel together. So she was just always there in early, just hanging out.
Love that.
So she ran the light board for like the first couple of cues. Wow. And then we pulled someone who... This wasn't in the reports, but it was another staff member for the players who I think was there as like front of house.
Okay.
Something or other for that night. An usher, or maybe she was spotlighting, which is an old specialty thing we used to do where we had a special corner for our season ticket holders. I don't remember what Leslie was doing, but then she took over so then the Cat could go get ready to be an actor. Leslie was then back to running the whiteboard. Meanwhile, Lauren is doing deck moves on the stage, just making it happen, going back and forth. I got word maybe 20 minutes into the show that Alma, my deck crew member, had arrived, was there, was getting into costume, was trying to remember how to breathe because she had been having a day.
Oh my goodness.
We got her all situated, and then back to, you know, the fact that the Grace stage, unless you built a cross around, there wasn't space to have cross around. So sometimes people would just get stuck in the stage left wing until such time as either they got to then exit stage right or something moved, like a blackout or something, and they could sneak.
Yeah.
And so there was literally a point where like somebody was pushing a screen one side and I knew Alma was behind it because she was getting to stage left.
Yeah.
And then Alma came on stage and pushed a screen from stage left. I'm just like, okay, that should be Lauren now exiting the stage.
Yeah.
And then sure enough, Lauren showed up in my booth, still in costume, I think even, and started taking over the light board again so that then Leslie could go about her day of just like, yes, team. We made it happen.
Love that.
Oh my gosh. It was great.
I can't. Whoa.
It was also nerve-wracking of just like, okay, everybody remember your deck moves.
Exactly.
What time is she gonna get here? But
I love that.
I just have that firm image of just the one screen going across with one person. Then it came back. There was Alma, and it's just like, okay, there, we're gonna do the show as is for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
Go team.
That's awesome. And then it worked out, and I can't. But you knowing as well, because I'm not, okay, so they have to be moving this way for this to be, that's awesome. That's so good. I love, and that's a wholesome mishap.
Yeah, it all came together.
So being Steel Magnolias, I asked Deborah this and she didn't have an answer for me, but I've given you time. So I want to know, we have an all-female cast. It's set in a salon. We're in our salon photo booth. Do you have any beauty tips or beauty hacks that you use in your day-to-day life that you'd like to share?
Oh, yeah, sure. I have plenty, and everyone that knows me starts laughing. No, not really. Like, I remember at one point in rehearsals, they were talking about some complicated hair thing. How do we do this? And then for whatever reason, they turned to me, and I literally said, I know how to make a ponytail. Is that useful to this conversation?
Yeah.
No, I'm very much throw things on and get out the door kind of gal. I do use daily sunscreen.
Okay.
So that's the thing, especially in this city.
Oh, yeah.
And especially as much time as I spend outside because I walk to and from work, all that good stuff. And in my family, there is history of skin cancer. So there's also a certain aspect of please not me.
Yeah.
So, yeah, daily sunscreen is kind of my big thing of just buy it in your moisturizer.
Yeah.
Slap it on daily.
Makes sense.
Live your life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't do any, I know I'm such a hypocrite asking all of my co-hosts if they have any. I don't do anything either. I don't have moisturizer and
got time
toner,
for that?
And I don't know what half of that
No, I'm
means,
just like, and that's my thing. It's just like, well, and then that serves as my daily moisturizer because it's got the sunscreen in there. And in the city of Houston, some days I'm just like, do I need a daily moisturizer? I just go outside and the humidity right there just does it for me. But
today was one of, and I'm glad that it's not too sunny today, but it was just a day you walk out and you're like, it's soup out here. I am swimming in soup.
Yep.
My final question for you is, I want to know, do you have any advice it was geared towards for women specifically coming into theater, but I want to know in general, coming from a stage manager, coming from a performance background, do you have any advice for anybody looking to get into theater?
Mm-hmm. First, I have to laugh about coming from a performance background. Girl, that was so many years ago.
Yes.
So many years ago.
And it's part of your story. And it's part of your art. It makes you who you are.
It's a whole different Hannah ago.
It's so fascinating how many people actually started performing in theater.
I think so much of it just is that that's your first opportunity to get involved with acting or to get involved with theater in some form is in acting. Because again, you're not going to let the 6-year-old be like, yes, I'll hold the follow spot, sir. Like, you know. We all got to.
Yeah.
I kind of would also. It was instantly a beautiful mental image of like this little shaky stick arm kid.
Yeah.
We all got to start somewhere. And hey, if that's what develops our love that then grows us into these awesome technicians, then great. Then acting has served its purpose. I guess my big advice for anybody wanting to get involved in theater is just go out and find all the opportunities that you can for any aspect of it that you can. What I appreciated so much about my college education in theater was that it was not a specialty program. Like, I did not specifically go for a degree in stage management or a theater degree, geared towards stage management. It was an all around. Everybody learned how to build sets. Everybody learned how to hang lights. Everybody learned how to build a costume and why you hate when people lie about their measurements. Everybody learned how to take acting classes and how to audition and how to do the full spectrum of it. And I feel like it just gave me such an all-around understanding of how the entire process works, which of course is fantastic information to know as a stage manager to understand how every department works.
Yeah.
But I also feel like you're a better actor if you understand the costumer doesn't hate you because they're putting you in this outfit. This is the character that they have from the script and from talking to the director. This is what they want to do. The lighting designer does not hate you because they're blinding you with that light. They want to make sure that you show up in that moment and this, that, and the other of just having the full spectrum of it. So if you are starting out, and obviously there's only so many opportunities that you're going to get, but take those opportunities, start getting your foot in the door, start being known to people so that then maybe they call you the next time around if you did good work, which then also means do good work, be a responsible person, show up on time. If you aren't going to be on time, let somebody know in advance. Don't have them reach out to you. You show that you are a professional, that you know what you're doing, or even if you don't know what you're doing yet, that you are willing to learn and to not just flake on people. And honestly, that will take you far.
Yeah. I do want to kind of shout out real quick that 80 Players, we do have an internship program. We are currently, we have our internship open for the summer. We have administrative and education intern slots open. So if that's something that you're interested in, if theater has always been an aspect that you wanted to get into, learn more of, or put your skills to good use, please apply to our internship program in the summer. And I believe we have our next fall internship open as well.
Woo-woo.
So just a little self-promotion. Hannah, thank you so much for being on this episode of By George. It was so lovely getting to sit down and talk to you.
You're so very welcome. Lots of fun. Lots of fun here.
Thank you. I do want to shout out one final time that we are currently in our beauty salon photo booth here at the George Theater. So make sure when you come in and see Steel Magnolias, now you have a little bit of behind the scenes of what's going on that's not happening on stage, what's happening in the background, the lighting cues and everything. I think it's so fascinating. Come in with that eye for the small details and come get your photo taken in our photo booth. And thank you guys so much for listening. We will see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.
This has been By George, an 80 Players at the George Theater podcast, hosted and produced by Miranda Zapes. Listen anywhere you listen to podcasts and follow us on Instagram at By George Theater. That's THEATRE. Sure to like, share, and subscribe. And By George, we'll see y'all next time. That's awesome. I'm gonna let that go by.
So many sirens today. I also like watching Jesse like walk past and then walk past again. I think it was Jesse.
Jesse Groth Olson. I'm the marketing director for 80 Players at the George Theater.
Jesse.
I thought it was. I thought maybe he was going to CVS or something.
Because what are you gonna do, right? You're probably gonna want to get some flowers and some chocolates.
Oh, maybe he did. Okay.
Or maybe it was somebody that just looked an awful lot like Jesse.
I'm coming in to help you. 80 Players at the George Theater right now is putting on Steel Magnolias, and everybody loves this show.
There's a lot of people that look like Jesse.
True. Especially, at a distance through glass.
Of course.
Of course.